also wanted to touch on is before P90X, what was your workout regimen?
Yeah, I mean, I did basic gym shit for a long time, but I was growing up a skater, and I was a wrestler, and like sort of did a bunch of boxing and different martial arts as a kid. Kid meaning up until high school and college. I was doing Aikido and Judo and Krav Maga and stuff like that, and just like stupid bench press stuff. I was always in the gym doing typical bro workouts.
Sure.
But my foundation of sort of like just being in good shape was all through skateboarding. Like that was like my life since I was like 10. So
were you eventually like turned off with MMA because it felt like it was a little bit more injurious for someone who's busy with entertainment in a family?
Well, I wasn't so busy at the time. I loved it. I loved every minute of it. It's just to get really good at it, you have to do it a lot. And it sort of just became a scheduling conflict. I still jump in and do jiu-jitsu on the weekends and still do Krav Maga and things of that nature just for fun. But no, it wasn't really. The injury part wasn't prohibitive for me. It was just like I think I actually want to get back into jiu-jitsu and maybe look at that as like my next sort of dive in.
Right.
Yeah, but I love it, dude. I love getting on a good sweat every morning. It's still what I do, every single morning. Without that, I don't feel like I've set my day right. So it's definitely a dope thing.
Yeah, because I think what ties in with CrossFit and jiu-jitsu is your ego. If you don't tap, if someone's arm barring you, or especially if
break your arm,
and you're done.
Totally.
Donezo.
Yeah.
So a lot of that has to do with balance as far as for being in shape, because you're in entertainment, and then having a family.
Yeah.
What is heavier from your perspective, from your basically your perspective of this is harder to juggle?
Well,
family or entertainment?
Family or entertainment, or family or fitness? Which one?
I would say family or entertainment first.
That's a tough one.
Fitness is helping your cycle, right?
It helped, and not only that, but I think also with CrossFit specifically, this is just going back to CrossFit. CrossFit's a communal thing. It's a very social fitness thing.
Sure.
And so I've brought my kids grew up in a CrossFit gym. Like my kids do kids CrossFit. My wife does CrossFit. Like, so it's a family thing. And there's, the part that I love about it more than the workout is that there is a family element, a family vibe. I go for the community, right? In fact, we could talk about this later, but I've parlayed that in some recent work that we did earlier this year with the Super Bowl commercial and a bunch of other stuff that we did with CrossFit in the community. And like we told the whole story about how like there's a social fitness movement of like, rather than you just going to get a gym membership at Equinox and going by yourself,
right,
there's a thing about going to SoulCycle or going to CrossFit or going to these like group social environments where you're working out together as a social group. So that, fitness and social and family all kind of tied together. Balancing family life and balancing entertainment world and business and things it's a constant challenge. It's a constant wrestling match, like, not to use another analogy, but
that's your
it totally is, man. And it's like it's the two loves of my life. I mean, that's really how I look at it. It's like having two girlfriends and trying to keep them both happy, and it's really difficult, but I love what I do, and I love my family dearly. So it's part of it is a mutual respect on both sides. It's them understanding my deep love for my work, and also them, so being patient with that and allowing me to have that space.
Sure.
But then also me understanding that they have needs too, and without nurturing their needs, then I'm off balance there too, right? So,
right.
Yeah. But I think that, and anything too, like my work is affected by any lack of balance on the family side. Like if I know it's faltering, I'm not at my best. And the same with my family. If I know that my work is faltering, I tend to be a little bit more stressed out and anxiety prone and not as good of a family member as I am when work is going good and I'm in the zone. And you get those moments in life, and it's fleeting sometimes, but when everything is just humming at the right frequency, where it's like, right, yeah, I'm a rock star.
Right.
And then, you get the ups and downs. So you just kind of go through it,
Well, I feel like whether if you lift weights, you work on something cardio-centric or martial arts, sometimes it just establishes a rhythm.
Yeah.
Which is key in terms of doing so many things in Los Angeles. As we course towards entertainment, did you find yourself wanting to get into entertainment in your teen years already? Is
Oh yeah, no, since I was a child.
Okay.
Yeah, my mom got me into acting. I was always singing and dancing around the house and just kind of a ham all the time. My mom got me into acting when I was in 3rd or 4th grade, like play production and different like off school like sort of plays and things like that, musicals. So I was always involved in that, and I always kind of looked up to like the dudes on TV and just like, I could do that. And so she got me into acting early. I did a bunch of commercials, TV, things of that nature. And then when that kind of faded a little bit as I got into high school, I started hitting puberty. It was harder for me to get jobs, just, as being an awkward looking teenager and shit. But then as that died off, I jumped into music and kind of parlayed that into starting a band in high school. And then like that carried me like all the way through college and into the music business. And at the same time, coming from a broke family, having to like hustle hardcore on the side jobs and all that stuff to survive as I got into college and things, I was always at this impasse of like, fuck, like I want to spend all my time doing music and I got to have 3 jobs to support myself and live in this apartment or do whatever.
Right.
I might as well get a job in the music business. And that way I could actually be surrounded constantly with the environment that I want to be in. So that when that happened, that was a big breakthrough. At least, for the time being, it was a breakthrough to kind of be in the music business. I felt like I was on path. At least if I wasn't going to make it as an artist, I felt like I had a solid chance at making it as a businessman within the music business.
What was that company that gave you
I worked for Clear Channel. I had a first job at a music magazine that Clear Channel owned. And I was part of it was basic bullshit data entry, writing little journals on artists. And then eventually that led to being part of a transition team that transitioned a lot of the data that Clear Channel was taking in from album sales and retail and different charts to digitizing that. So I was part of like a digital thing, which is cool. And it helped me build a big network of artist relationships. And I was still hustling, still selling drugs. And I was also still like sort of booking my own band by using my like Clear Channel business card to do that and run the tours.
Hustle under hustle.
Hustle. And I also figured out how to manipulate the charts. So I was like hustling shows with all of my, like the guys that I was supposed to be writing about and digitizing, and then booking them for tours and routing tours, and then manipulating the charts and like sort of hacking like sales charts so that our bands and our artists that we were working with were always on the top of the charts every week.
Sure.
And then using like street team marketing things to kind of just get different looks and different, scores here and there. So it was a cool time. It was a pre-MySpace, pre-Facebook, pre any of that kind of shit, pre-iTunes. Like this was the dawn of the digital age.
It's almost like you're a promoter for a club where you're handing out flyers.
I literally was.
Kind of like
I literally was.
Analog method.
Totally, it was an analog method for sure.
What do you see when someone is privileged and they're trying to get entertainment, that the work ethic's different, or have you been shocked?
That goes by the person, dude. I know a ton of people that came up from privilege that are hustlers, like fucking that'll make you and I look like slacks, dude, you know? And then I've certainly seen the converse where you got these guys that just free ride syndrome that constantly have that, So it goes both ways. And I've seen some broke motherfuckers have no hunger either and just, fuck up every, hand-given thing too, as well as the guys that can sleep on the couch and hustle. Totally. I mean, it just goes with the person. I don't know if I have any major indicators that it comes from one socioeconomic, source or the other. I feel like it's just by the person, from my experience.
Yeah, because what I'm noticing because of the internet, even Gen Xers, millennials, you see that people are becoming, let's say, at an internet trend, it becomes sociological. What I mean by that is, baby boomers would complain, too many of you millennials take selfies. But as they join Facebook and all,
they start getting into it.
They're taking
for sure.
They're taking selfies with their grandchildren.
Yep.
So, from your observation, because you've been in the span of entertainment, you've seen the gambit. So you have to judge. By character.
Yeah.
And wait for the person.
Totally.
Now, when you decided, or when was it a point where you go, you know what, digital has so much heavy churn for the pie of entertainment? Well, when did you start noticing that?
Oh, I mean, I noticed it as early as anybody. I noticed it when, I was downloading thousands of records on Kazaa or Napster, and like being in working at Clear Channel at that time and listening into board meetings about how they had to, squash it and get rid of it because the digital age is, we're going to stomp this out. And it's like listening to those older guys in the industry talk about like how they're going to stomp it out is like, you guys, it's just ridiculous that you're saying. So like hearing that was just like, fuck, dude, you guys are going to die off and this is going to be the future. So like you see that early on. I mean, that wasn't me being clairvoyant. That was just like, duh, like that was just about to happen, Did
that seem like, it's time for me to bounce from this company?
I needed a paycheck. I mean, no, I didn't. I mean, I think I either got fired or I bounced because I like found another. I was like leveling up, so I wasn't ready to bounce until I was ready to level up and like get the next thing. I think I started hustling hard enough to where I was either making more money selling weed and booking like stupid shows that I ended up just leaving on my own. But it wasn't like this ship is sinking, right? Like, because 20 years later, 17 years later. Clear Channel is actually probably eventually going to go bankrupt or something at some point, but they're still here, And if they would have, I mean, to be honest, if they would have just offered me a little bit more money, I would have stayed. So it wasn't. No, I didn't jump off the Titanic. I just found another hustle. So that was like a stepping stone.
It seems like everyone, if I may label you a Gen Xer.
Yeah, I'm on the cusp. I'm on the cusp.
Right
I see kind of both sides of the fence there,
Right. Well, at least you being in the digital environment helps you see both sides even clearer.
Yeah.
That point in time when you were like slanging dope, trying to find the next. What helped you get to this point now? Because for a lot of our younger audience, they feel lost and they feel like, I'm going to stay at home for the rest of my fucking life until my mom or dad passes this home to me.
Yeah. Is that what you think? That's a lot of people feel that way? Young kids feel that way now?
It's a means extremes thing. There's no regression to the mean. It's absolutely, I'm fucking lazy, or dude, I'm going to have a YouTube channel, I'm going to own my own company, and I'm going to be a rapper. It feels pretty means extremes, and I'm coming from the internship, being at Dash, being at SiriusXM. So that's my sample size.
Yeah.
So you can correct me if you feel like you're
I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know if it's different. I mean, it's interesting. I see how that makes sense. I guess what was the question? If you're asking how did I make that transition, or how
Sure. Well, maybe we can just share to help them out. Like, hey, I was slanging dope. I was kind of lost, but I don't
even know if I was lost. I think slanging dope was like, it was an opportunity that I seized and I had to capitalize off of, and it was there, and I needed a hustle. I needed to make ends meet. I did it. I didn't feel like, I'm lost. I found myself selling drugs. Like it was just like a supplemental income that like came about, and it was there, right? I think the only reason why I stopped is probably because I got to a point where maybe I didn't need to supplement the income anymore off it. I think, but I think I always had the hustle, and I think maybe it goes back to the idea that, that either the hustle spirit is inherent or it isn't. I don't know too many people who are just complete fucking losers who wake up one morning and go, fuck, like, I gotta fucking be a hustler, and then all of a sudden everything changes. I see like you may hear that as a topical speaking point, but the proof is in the poison with actions, and I think that either, in my opinion, like it's the adage of like, weed makes you lazy. It's like, well, no, I don't think it does. I think weed makes lazy people stay lazy, and weed makes hustlers, enhances their hustle ability maybe. But so I think that same thing with laziness and like inherent hustle. Either you got it or you don't, and I feel like I always had it. I think selling weed was maybe a proof point to the fact that I was hustling, because while I had my day job, I was slanging to supplement as a hustle mode, right? Not as like oh, well, I can't figure out anything else, So I don't know. Yeah. What's your theory? Yeah, tell me.
And check me on it,
please.
I think because you're right at the analog and digital medium.
Yeah.
You had that in you. It's like, no, I got to survive. So I'm gonna slang. It's not even an afterthought.
Yeah.
Where someone who's...
Speaking of weed, did you just catch that aroma?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I smell it. I'd love to join, actually.
It's all good. Just share. I'm just saying. It's all good.
but yeah, I mean, but living in California, that's so natural. But here, back to my theory.
Yeah.
He really is possibly, after the greatest generation, the baby boomers, Gen X, we were the hard hat method of thinking.
Yeah. Versus
someone who's, albeit spoiled or not, they're just too threatened. Do you think that has a lot to do with it? It's the hard hat thinking
of our generation, you mean?
Versus someone who would be scared to sell weed?
I mean, like I said, like if you're already determined to hustle,
Sure.
Fear doesn't play into it. I feel like you're like, fuck it, like let's go for it, right? Because in the nature of being a hustle and being the spirit of like a hustler, you sort of throw caution to the wind and in pursuit of, you know, whatever you're going after, right? So like whether that's selling weed and the risk involved, or whether it's being a dope like graffiti artist bombing up the freeway sign, or whether it's someone who's going to start a new startup business, like I feel like you go, yeah, there's a lot of opposing forces here, you know, but risk versus reward, I'm going to go for it, you know what I mean? And so I feel like, yeah, maybe, and you know, I feel like I don't know if that made sense, but I think that
you're sharing your experience.
Yeah, I feel like the fear doesn't really apply to someone who's already inherently determined to score and to set up, you know?
It's a pretty enlightening moment to be here at a dope boutique hotel, and you're the fourth person I've asked about this gap. You're the fourth person that said it's personality based. It's not generation.
Yeah, yeah. So certainly, generation has a thing. There is a thing to it. Like, so? Yeah, I mean, it's like. But I guess the way it's the mode, it's the mode of like execution that has changed generationally, right? So like, for example, like because things are so hyper fucking touch and like immediate and like fast, and like the service and the modality of like execution has changed. Like the barrier of entry has gone down for a lot of people to do anything, right? Like fucking 10 years ago, if you wanted to be a coder or even a film, if you wanted to do this interview 10 years ago, you know, the level of stuff that you'd have to have, the barrier of entry to do that would be very, very hard. The fact that you're multimedia, bringing in, you know, this thing and setting it up in 2 seconds, and it's going on air and it's going on television and it's going on video. Right. I mean, those are the modes that have changed over the generation, right? And this is so obvious to young kids now. So the barrier is dropped, and I think it makes it so much easier. It makes it easier to do, but it doesn't, you know, the first step is actually getting all this shit together, organizing and doing what you did, which is the hustle part, right?
Sure.
It's not, you know, even though all this stuff exists for anyone to do, not everyone's going to do it because they don't wake up every morning with the determination, like, I'm going to make this fucking happen today. Do you feel me?
Or I work at 8 o'clock tonight, so I got to get this done.
Yeah. So I think like generationally what they have is a modality that lets it be easier, but the person inside, the driver, has to decide and be proactive and actually take the steps to make that happen, right? So I don't know if that's generational, that's personality, but generationally the tools. I'm backing up my point. Yeah.
It's great. It's conclusive.
Yeah. Thank you for finding the correlation to that point.
Of course, man. Well, I fucked up so many different interviews like 8 years ago. By the time it became 5 years ago, I had.
You got it again. Yeah. Cool.
I don't know. I can edit this out if it's not topically what you want to speak to.
I'm an open book.
What was that like working with Skee and the development of Dash Radio? Actually, no, Skee TV.
Yeah, Skee TV first. Dude, I was stoked to be a part of that whole legacy and like to work with Skee. I mean, you know, I met Skee shortly after my experience at Clear Channel, and after that experience at Clear Channel, I actually left the entertainment world and went into real estate for a few years, and actually found some success in that, but it was totally miserable because it wasn't feeding my soul. And so I found Skee, and he was the conduit to like opening up this new world of entertainment and digital and things that I was longing for after a hiatus from it, right? So it was a blessing to meet him. It was refreshing to hear his vision for the future and where he saw the world and telescoping the world, and I subscribed to it, agreed with it, I echoed it, and I wanted to be a part of it. And he had incredible access to talent and to a world that a lot of young people wanted in on. And so being able to open that up for them and create daily videos that would expose that world to the rest of the population was a massive opportunity for us. And to be able to be given that opportunity to build a business around that and to build something that was sustainable and profitable and meaningful to brands and to talent and to an audience was really, really an amazing opportunity. I mean, I literally cut my teeth on everything that we did together. I learned a lot, man. I spent, I got a doctorate in that shit. That was my 10,000 hours was working with him on Skee TV. And I think we accomplished a lot of things. There's always two ways of looking at it. I mean, in fairness, we did a lot of amazing milestones and accomplished a lot of like pop culture moments that like I think are probably still relevant, or actually something you can point to and be like, yeah, I remember that, like we did that. And there's a handful of those things, and so that was a great time, right? The inception of Dash came from an app that we built within Skee TV called Skee 24/7, which was basically, it was like it was like a singular station that became Dash, right? And so that was really rad. And we made a decision as a company a few years back and said, like, okay, what are we going to do with these couple of things within the company? Are they going to be scalable and can we monetize them, or are they just for fun and kind of cool? And if so, we probably have to pull the plug on some of these things. So we basically kind of divided some of those assets and worked on them. And I worked on the TV side and I worked on the syndication side, and really developing a strong muscle in being able to package television shows, licensing deals, and syndication models around content, and understand like really community and understanding how to build a community around content. I focused on that, which became my current company, Language, and Skee focused on Skee 24/7, which became his current company, Dash. And so we sort of like divided the baby, a few years back, 2 years back or so, around that inception point. So my world of Dash and my view of Dash and my experience with Dash was sort of limited at the very beginning of it. It's interesting to see what he's doing with Dash, and I think, I think Skee is always going to be successful, and so I'm stoked to see what happens with Dash, but I'm not involved in it as much. Yeah, like. And so I've went off and done, with Language and stuff, but working with Skee was always great. And, I don't know what, I mean, it was my education. Like it was pretty phenomenal experience for sure.
You're segging my interviews pretty well.
Oh, good.
I don't have to do
good,
anything.
Good.
But, before we get to that, are you guys amicable?
Yeah. I mean, there's, no bad blood between us.
That's good.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, if I saw him and now it would be, everything's cool. We haven't spoken in a while, for no other reason than I think just because we're both just super consumed and busy. But I think everything's super cool, and I wish Skee the best. Like I feel like he'll like I feel like if you're gonna bet money on him, long money, on him, I think it's probably money well placed on his success in the future.
Right on.
Yeah.
Now. For those of you who are unaware, he's listening right now. Ryan, if you don't mind describing what Language Media is,
yeah,
and purpose.
Yeah, so Language Media is sort of a configuration of a bunch of multi-hyphenate unicorns, like who are like seriously experts in like certain areas of brand reinvention, creative direction, producing, directing. And content community building, and it's a studio. I mean, Language Media is a community building content studio. So that's kind of a fancy way of saying we make shit. We make cool creative videos, TV, films, digital videos, which are really films to us. We look at everything as films, right? Even if it's a 30-second film, or if it's a 90-minute film, it's a film. Or if it's a 10 episode of a binge watch series, it's still, for us, it's a film. It's a story. It's a visual story. And so we do that as a studio. We own a lot of our own content, and then we monetize it through syndication models of like licensing or selling to like guys like Netflix or Vice or whoever. And then also we look very deeply at the audience that we're targeting for that piece of content, and we sort of get into the psychographs and the sort of makeup, at least social makeup of who that audience is and how they speak and how they share content, and we study that. And so part of our strategy in building a piece of content, a story or a film or a television show, is understanding the audience and how do we create a community experience with that audience through that content, right? So again, another fancy way of saying that is like, instead of creating a show and like hopefully it reaches an audience, we really design the show in mind with the audience already, and go after them in a very smart way. And so we bring the audience with us to our shows, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Is it possible also for someone to approach you and then you guys invest into them?
Yeah, so our company set up pretty much 3 verticals. So one is, servicing and working with brands, right? Like, so for example, we did a Super Bowl commercial this year with Michelob Ultra, and that turned into building out a community strategy for how they create a social fitness community. And so we filmed like 80 pieces of content with people from actual CrossFit gyms and like really dope storytelling content from within the community. And all of that content sort of surrounded the Super Bowl spot and amplified the Super Bowl spot because everyone was already talking about it. So that's one vertical, and that's working with the brand that underwrites all that content, that pays for all that, and we're servicing that client, right? The other way we work is that we work with partnerships. So we have creative partnerships with, like right now we're working with LeBron James and Uninterrupted, his platform, and we're helping him design a programming strategy for Uninterrupted. So that's soup to nuts, like strategy and design of who this audience is and what is the content and all that kind of stuff. And that's a partnership. And so in that partnership, we're going to create content and films together that we're going to go out and try to all monetize and eat off of those things as, and owning that content together. And then the third thing that we do is we look at maybe some smaller brands or some smaller talent partners that maybe can't afford us as brands, and we invest our time and energy into finding alternative funding mechanisms to fund these ideas and incubate them. So it's almost like an incubation of new content and things that we believe in, and we invest a little bit more time and maybe do a reduced fee structure, but a little bit more investment in getting nurturing of that project or nurturing of that partnership, right?
For the third method, do you essentially, is that kind of like a digital manager and strategic mentor?
It could be, yeah.
In different ways, so that way they can approach you.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, like, to be honest, like we don't take a ton of inbound calls that way. Like we, kind of selective on those things, and it's, but yes, it's a strategic partnership. It's a strategic investment that we make in helping to bring out the essence of the cool factor, the essence of something that we think is really special there that hasn't been fully optimized or fully reached, and we help try to get that out and then build a plan for sustainability around that, right? Usually with content creation, creative direction, and then syndication or some sort of distribution plan that's inherently built to make money from it all, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
To be literal and binary for you who's listening.
Yeah.
With an example of Broad City, those 2 chicks on Comedy Central.
Yeah.
They first started off as a platform on YouTube.
Yeah.
They could approach you and say, Ryan or whoever's in charge of management, and go, take a look. Maybe this is something we can partner on and work together. Yeah. So like that's exactly how it happens. Like we get like a good example of that would be a film company who's doing 5 animated films. They have funding for 5 animated films. They brought in the creator of Shrek and all these different directors, and they're like, here's a script. We have the producer, we have the director. We want your help to help us create a way to cast the right people, the right influencers within this film, so that they can be the built-in marketing piece of this film, and then create ancillary content outside of the film, like little behind the scenes and little tiny animations and all kinds of content, which we all love. And how do we build that plan and sort of build that strategy for all 5 films? And so we would partner with them and build that as a partnership, so where we would own a piece of the back end of those films and then help them execute. So we've just finished doing that for 5 animated films, and doing that for another movie studio for a client that I can't talk about, but it's very similar to what you just said, Broad. It's like almost like spot on to that T, where you take, the Broad City chicks who like started off as a digital platform, now they have a television show, and now they're interested in doing some films, and like how do you get behind this film to create all this like sort of strategy around how to amplify this through the community that's watching this type of stuff, right? It's exactly that idea. That's great.
Yeah.
In regards to on-demand versus live, where do you think that's going? Because my theory is the room for live is for news.
Yeah.
Almost everything else I consume is on demand. Yeah,
news and sports.
Correct.
Yeah.
News and sports. Is that pretty much a fortified thought?
100%. 100%. People are going to dictate their own consumption habits. They already are. I think even sports is going to change. I don't think people have the attention span to watch a 2-hour game anymore. I think they're going to watch it on Bleacher Report, truncated versions of that shit, right? And keep up with the score and keep up with the headlines and highlights. But I think it's already here. I mean, it's an on-demand world already. I think that's not going to change.
Okay.
I think there may be a version of it where people want to have a live experience and will pay a premium for that. So maybe behind a paywall, they'll get access to a live concert or they'll get access to a live event that's happening and maybe pay a premium for the live experience. I mean, obviously Snapchat and Facebook Live are indicators that like people still want that like sort of zero latency experience. Sure. But it's not going to be a widespread appointment television watching on live demand anymore. I don't think. I think we're already past that point.
Yeah, I think it's just up to people to actually try it.
Yeah.
Once you try it, you're not going to go back.
No, why would you? People's schedules are crazy anyways.
Ryan, I'm going to put you on blast for a little bit.
Do it.
So you answer either or.
Okay.
Wu-Tang or Diggable Planets?
Diggable Planets.
Why Diggable Planets?
I'm just into the jazz vibe. Like, I love Wu-Tang, don't get me wrong, but Diggable is like some smoke out jazz, spacey, planet, like astrological head trip shit. And Wu-Tang is like some hard shit, which I love. But if you gave me a gun to my head choice, I'd go for Diggable.
I think I know the answer to this just because we've been talking for a while.
Yeah.
Judo or wrestling?
Judo. Like when you say wrestling, you mean like WWE wrestling?
No, as in, like,
collegiate wrestling, Greco-Roman wrestling? Tough one. I feel like judo is still like I would still prefer judo just because of center. It's all about center of gravity more than like brute force.
Sure.
So judo's all technique and center of gravity. I'd probably just go for judo.
Plus, there's a judo revolution where they're going no gi.
That's true.
Right.
That's hot.
Because that's
yeah.
You can't use judo
right
now. I don't know. This is so typical, but I have to ask it. LeBron or Jordan?
Damn, I mean, because I'm working with LeBron, I got to go for LeBron. Like, here's why, though, because I think we saw Jordan, like, when I grew up, Jordan was a superhero. It was unobtainable.
He was mythic.
He was mythic. And you only saw him as a mythical creature, because if you actually dig deep into his real life, he was an asshole, degenerate gambler, like, he was not probably a nice dude.
Fucking Venus thrusting motherfucker, dude.
Which, props to that, but, like, just not even, like, the dude wasn't, like, a nice guy. LeBron is like a superhuman, even though he's like, but he's human in the same sense. Like he's a family guy, he's diverse, he's a complex guy, he's sophisticated, he's obtainable. He's like it's in some way.
There's a tangible aspect behind LBJ.
Yeah.
Where he can even clap back on a tweet.
Totally.
Is it bad that I skipped Kobe over?
I would have gone with Kobe if you would have put in the third option. Kobe for me. I'm an LA guy. Sorry,
okay.
But Kobe. Look, like I think LeBron's legacy is probably going to go heavier than Kobe's, and like when it's all said and done, when it's all written. But I don't know. I grew up watching Kobe and like in person in the stands, and like I don't know, something for me is Kobe.
I think there's something to seeing it first.
Yeah.
I found this record.
Totally.
Jordan, you were an older record.
Yeah, I was too young to really like get Jordan in that sense, right? Kobe was a peer of mine. He was almost my age. He was like, we were, like, so I felt like he was my thing.
Right.
LeBron was just after that, just after me.
Almost
and
like
still is.
A remix.
Yeah, kind of like a remix.
He's a dope remix.
That's right.
Couple more.
Sure.
Bone in ribeye or filet?
Bone in ribeye, bro. Like, how's that even filet? Well, filet's like one of the most overrated, in my opinion, cuts.
Wasted money.
I agree. It's like, although I tend to be, more girthy than long and lean, just personally, but I don't know why I had to throw in the phallic reference, but yeah, I'm in shape. But the fillet is like just a fucking sponge versus a ribeye. Bone and ribeye specifically is like that's where the cut is.
Right.
Yeah, that's where the cut is.
Two more. It's about.
You got time, bro. I'm good. Yeah, we got plenty of time.
I'm enjoying this.
Cool. As am I. Tell me if I'm rambling too long, because I love the sound of my fucking voice, bro. So I could talk.
You know what? We're supposed to be trained to make it about you.
It's cool. All right. I like that. If this is the time, I'll soak it in. Okay. Thanks. Yeah. No one else likes to listen to me.
Is the rating of Kendrick Lamar, and you're speaking to a 41-year-old.
Yeah.
So I'm like Biggie galore.
Yeah.
Is his rating too high?
So you're asking the wrong guy if you want me to follow you there, because I think he's one of the greatest to ever do it. And I'll tell you, here's my thing.
God, Ryan, you're breaking my heart.
No, listen,
You're breaking my heart.
I'm not saying he is the greatest. I'm saying he's one of the greatest.
Okay.
And a couple reasons. Number one is I've personally known Kendrick Lamar for a long time, like worked with him at Skee for a long time. One of the nicest guys ever, too, by the way. One of the dudes that you always want to root for because he's just a nice fucking guy. Like the guy, I'm going to tell you like this. I've been at many events with him where he didn't have to remember me. He has to remember Skee, whatever. He didn't have to remember me.
Sure.
He's beeline to me to say hello and like eye contact and like shake my hand. And to me, that means something so much because of all the artists that we've worked with, and there's everyone, he's one of the few that is actually like a genuine, nice person. So for that reason, he had a special place for me. After To Pimp a Butterfly, which I thought was a fucking magnum opus, whatever. Yes. I thought it was so amazing. And the more I listened to it, the more I uncovered, and the more it's like watching The Godfather. I watched The Godfather, 100 million times, and I still uncover new things. That's how To Pimp a Butterfly was for me for a very long time. When Damn came out, at first couple listens, which I immediately gave it the full through 3 or 4 times in a row right when it came out, and I recognized in that to make sure, and I recognized in the first 3 times through, I go, fuck, dude, there's so much here that I know I'm only scratching the surface. I know if I give it more time, I'm going to really uncover more and more and more. And the more I've read about like the second album rumor and like the sort of hidden messages and how you can listen to it backwards as well as frontwards, and it's 2 different theories of like, wickedness, dude. And so that's what I'm saying. Like, when was the last time? I mean, I can't think of like too many other than like maybe Jay-Z or like, I mean, and there's a few, but like, where like it's been a while since someone has put the time into developing an album that's so conceptual that it takes us long enough to even uncover these things. Do you know what I mean?
I absolutely agree. Sometimes people put out albums in a chapterial sense.
Right. Or most people don't even give a fuck and they just put out singles all day and some bullshit and just play that game, and which has its place, but that's not this. And I feel like it's so dope to me that he's on another level, and like not everyone's gonna get it, and it's not gonna be mainstream, and it's not gonna be what everyone, maybe all the kids are gonna be raving about. It might be overlooked by a lot of people, but I think he's really, really special. I'm really a fan.
Definitely king for this era.
I mean, fuck, dude. Who comes close to that right now?
Especially me from a judgmental older cat.
Yeah.
He's the guy I go to. Is like, okay, that's the guy who's the continuum. He picked up the ball from the 70s to 80s, 90s.
Totally. Listen, also, look, again, I think last year, if you asked me what are the top 3 albums that came out last year, I would tell you De La Soul and Tribe Called Quest were 2 of my favorite albums of last year, right?
Man, thank you for saying that.
Like, that's a given. And I don't, like, there's not many, I mean, other than, like, Anderson .Paak, and like I'll even throw Bruno Mars in that hat, which might be looked at as crazy, but I feel like he's a special cat, too. But Kendrick, you tell me who, like, Chance the Rapper gets a lot of love, and I see why, and he's super fucking talented, but nothing I've heard from him, while all of it's exceptional, isn't like, I don't have to listen to it 10 times to uncover like hidden gems and like really go deep with it. And I just like that type of shit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Absolutely. And the other context I wanted to share to you who's listening, I've been both talent and board op. The way Dash was founded and Skee TV, it's like Chad Hugo and Pharrell. So the context I wanted to share was for Kendrick to come up to Chad Hugo in a sense because he's in front of the camera and you're behind. That's pretty soulful for you to receive.
Wow, thank you very much.
Right?
Yeah, that's amazing.
I mean, I'm a metaphorical dude.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I'm pretty spot on when it comes to that, right? I mean, because the actor can only be as good as the director and the camera person, too.
Oh, I totally agree with that. I mean, it's all supporting roles. I mean, the guys in front of the camera, the guys on record get all the claps, but certainly there is a supporting cast that goes behind that to make it happen, for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
As we're about to wrap, and
I was like thinking about it. Were you calling me Chad? You're calling me Chad Hugo?
And then Skee is Pharrell.
I dig that.
Because Chad Hugo's busy programming things.
Yeah.
And Pharrell's got to be all falsetto on behind the fucking mic and do his thing.
Right.
I'm not ripping on. Please don't misunderstand.
No, none taken. I think that's a great analogy for sure.
As we're about to wrap, where do you think entrepreneurship for young people is going? Is it strictly digital?
No, not at all, dude. I see entrepreneurship in fashion. I see entrepreneurship in all kinds of elements, dude. There's automotive. It's just like in terms of like we live in a bubble of entertainment and media and content. So that's everything we look at. Like if you're a carpenter, if you think the world's a hammer, everything's a nail type of analogy or something like that.
Sure.
But so I think certainly we see that up front. But I think entrepreneurship is in clean tech, in sustainability for gardening. I think there's farm to table. There's food. There's so many. I think entrepreneurship is like that is what's going to save us, because dude, as everything starts to get automated and this fear of like robots taking over our jobs, it's like no, robots are going to take over the cogs in the machine that put the bolt in the hole, and God let them have those jobs, like unfortunately, or fortunately for us, because but the ones that are going to remain are the entrepreneurships, the ones that are going to be thinking cognitively and thinking spiritually and quantumly about all kinds of opportunities and possibilities, and I think that it doesn't just only pertain to digital. It's innovation in general for making rocket ships and biodomes and all kinds of fucking crazy shit. So no, I don't think it's limited to digital. I think it's the future for sure, and I think we should be embracing that. I think we should change our education system so that kids are more programmed to learn how to code and learn how to be entrepreneurial and not be cog in the machine type of education, because that's going to just breed more fucking cogs who are going to sit around and complain about who moved my cheese and why the fucking new jobs are all automated. Whereas if we teach kids critical thinking and things of that nature, we can breed more entrepreneurs, and I think that's what we need to strike up another industrial revolution in this country. That we, I hope that's the way of the future.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, to incorporate analytical thinking at such a pillar age for kids, that's the most instrumental mental faculty that you could have to appreciate.
I think generally speaking, in more of a like big statement, but I feel like when you look at when there's this bifurcation or binary sort of like thinking in general, black or white, it's gay or it's not, it's white or it's black, or it's a pass or a fail. I think when you think that, it's dangerous. And when you look at the gradient or the spectrum of things, and this is where I'll get back to all this, because when you have an education system that looks at pass or fail, then kids start to be fail and risk adverse. They don't want to fail. They don't. Oh God, God forbid. But as an entrepreneur, you have to look at it completely differently. You're like, how many times can I fail? How many times can I fucking go real fast through that door to get hurt and learn from that and build back up on those things? And I think if we want to breed more entrepreneurs, we have to look more gradient. And that goes with civil rights and human rights. If we want to look at everything as black or white, then you're going to always have problems. If you look at the gradient, then you go like, oh fuck, like there's a spectrum of things. If you look at that for gay rights, it's like, oh, there's no men or female anymore. It's a spectrum of sexuality or whatever it is. Like, I think as we people evolve into seeing a much, if we widen the aperture across the board and look at a spectrum of things, a gradient of things, I think we'll have a more richer understanding for how things actually are. And I think we'll be less apprehensive of failure, less apprehensive of rejection, less apprehensive of like, I don't know if that I'm rambling completely, but that's just, yeah, I mean, that's where I think I hope I see us as people changing, and I hope that changes the future of entrepreneurship. It changes the people interaction with people and understanding of commonalities. Anyways, that's my shit.
No, that's a hell of a close, though.
Sorry.
You can't think in I's and O's. You can't, because now that there's digital, but what is your soul into? What if you're into fashion?
Yeah.
That becomes just the accessory.
Yeah.
And, man, this has been such a great interview. And I got to compliment your close, so.
Word? Thank you,
so
dude.
much, Ryan.
Appreciate it.
Honestly, I think I could have gone like another hour.
Hell yeah.